and welcome back to Villa View for episode 2 of Transfer Tattle. Everyone seemed to enjoy it last week, so it's back for a second week where we look over the rumours from the past week. In this week, we're going to be looking at Robbie Brady, James Bree, Fabian Delph and Stewart Downing. Stay tuned. So the first player we are looking at, Dan, is the link to Robbie Brady, the one that doesn't seem to go away. Are people putting two and two together here in the sense that Robbie Brady played quite well under Steve Bruce? Or is there something genuinely in this? Because this guy's obviously a left back and a left winger, and it seems that Bruce might have an interest in a left winger.
I think he's obviously a player that Bruce likes, because you don't sign a player unless you like them, and he did relatively okay for Bruce at Hull. I think he's a player that's perhaps his reputation actually maybe outweighs his ability. But I do think he's a good player. I mean, we're going to touch on if Ali Sissoko may leave later, but if he leaves, we do need a backup left back. Plus, he can also play left midfield, which is an area where we haven't really got any genuine left-footed left winger. So he does tick a box in that respect, and he's the kind of player that would balance the squad. I don't think he's got that long left on his contract either. So a relatively big money offer could probably tempt Norwich, although I'm sure they'll be reluctant to sell to Villa, because I don't think Norwich are genuinely that keen on Villa since the whole Lambert thing. But he's a good player. He did well in the Euros. I remember him performing well for the Republic of Ireland last summer. So he's a player I'd like, but I don't know whether that kind of big money is best spent elsewhere.
Apparently they're holding out for £13 million, and Palace have already had a bid rejected of £10 million. The theory is that he plays a totally different player when he's playing for Republic of Ireland compared to playing for Norwich. Now, Jack Reeve, who runs Taught Norwich City, I've got this quote from him on Robbie Brady. He's a pile of he said, as a left back, and he's not much better as a left winger. He's not sure if it's the player himself or it's him not wanting to be at Norwich, or whether he's just overrated. Great on his day, but he rarely appears. And that's a common view of Norwich fans.
I mean, I'm sure he's not thrilled to be at Norwich City in the Championship, but if that's the case, then surely he wouldn't be thrilled to be... I mean, I'm going to upset Jack here, because Villa are a bigger club, but surely he wouldn't be thrilled to be playing for Villa in the Championship either. But maybe he thinks Villa have got more of a chance of going up than Norwich. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. That's a strange one, because he always appears to be quite highly rated, but the Norwich fans are the ones that see him every week. So if they don't rate him, then there must be something in it.
Well, they're saying snatch your hands off for £10 million, which might say a lot about it. 3 goals, 3 assists this season, as we can see from his stats, which is okay, but he seems to be deployed all over the place on that left-hand side, as we touched on. He's got a lot of versatility, but if we're stumbling over the idea of paying a big money for Rhodes, then I can't see us stumbling out and paying big money for Robbie Brady either. Do you think that Robbie Brady is a goer, or do you reckon this is just papers putting 2 and 2 together? Because there's a lot of Premier League interest in this guy, so to me, it seems an unlikely possibility that we're going to sign him and they're just chucking Villa's name in there just for the sake of it.
Unless he's got a very, very good relationship with Steve Bruce and he loved playing for Bruce and they really get on well, then I would expect that if he was going to leave Norwich, it would be to a Premier League team. I don't think it makes sense from a career point of view to risk going to a team that may well be in the Championship next season. I'd have thought he'd want to play in the Premier League, where most players do.
The next position that we're looking at is the problem area of right back, and we've been linked with James Bree, the 19-year-old from Barnsley. The rumours sort of come out of nowhere that we're going to pay around £4 million for him. He's made 46 senior appearances already for Barnsley since making his debut in 2014. I'll be honest, I don't know much about him.
Obviously, right back is a major problem, because I don't think we can even go on this season with Alan Hutton there. I think in the long run this season, it'll end up costing us. So right back definitely needs freshening up. Again, £4 million for someone who's really only been in the Championship for half a season. I mean, I don't know much about him, but he sounds like a prospect and he seems very highly rated. I feel quite sorry for Barnsley, because they're doing quite well, and it seems like they're going to get picked off in this January transfer window, which is a shame for them. But quite honestly, I'd rather see anyone at right back than Alan Hutton. But I think we've got a good option at right back already with Bakuna can play there, so I'd be tempted to just go with him for the rest of the season. And obviously Bruce likes Micah Richards as well, so if he ever gets fit again, you'd expect him to be possibly playing. I know it's a funny one, because he has only come up over the last few days, but it's coming from a pretty reliable source in Alan Nixon, who thinks that it's a goer. So you've got to think there's some truth in it, really.
But in the same vein, he's also linking the likes of Manchester City with this guy. I'm a bit concerned that he might not want to come to us from Manchester City, maybe circling. or to you is the better career path to go for Villa? For me, it is 100%. And I know with Barnsley players in the past, like John Stones, they chose to go to Everton over a bigger side.
You'd think if he wants to play for a bigger team, then Villa's probably a decent place. The logical next step for him. Going somewhere like Man City too soon could absolutely kill his career. I mean, we've seen examples of players who've gone to Man City too early and not played, and their careers have really stalled afterwards. So to me, the better move would be Villa. The worry would be if a mid-range to lower Premier League team comes in for him, then maybe he'll think that's a better move. But at this stage of his career, if Man City have come calling or Villa have come calling and we're going to offer you football every week, you take the Villa option for me.
One of the issues is ball retention. That's something that in the Premier League might get picked off quite easily. So for his own development, to me, it's better off him staying in the Championship.
Well, the thing for me is, like, you've just listed ball retention as one of his weaknesses. We've got a 30-odd-year-old right back at the moment who one of his weaknesses is ball retention. You can almost forgive it. Well, you can forgive it from a 19-year-old because they're learning the game, but we're not going to have any more problem with the 19-year-old at right back than we are with the experienced Alan Hutton for me. As I say, you can accept it from a young player learning his trade. Moving
forwards, the most bizarre rumour so far, I'd say, in the whole of this window is Fabian Delph being linked with Aston Villa. Now, the Telegraph have said that we're interested in the move for, obviously, our ex-captain, the snake that is him. But the Birmingham Mail were quick to deny it, saying that Aston Villa are not interested whatsoever in this guy. Now, this is just a hypothetical argument. Would you take him back? It's an interesting argument to have. Would you take him back?
First of all, I think he was an absolute scumbag, the way he treated the club the other summer. That was not on. It was unbelievable. I've never seen any lies like it from a footballer. But the thing is, I'm kind of at the point now where we've been so far in decline. If he did want to come back, which I don't think he does, we'd have to snap his hands off because we need good footballers. Aston Villa over the last 5 years or so haven't had many good footballers, and he's one of them. So hypothetically, yes, I would take him because he'd improve the midfield tenfold. He'd probably be the best central midfielder in the league, but I don't think it's going to happen. No way.
His wages are huge, for one.
That'd 100% be Premier League interest. So he isn't going to risk coming to Villa and not getting the best of receptions from his own fans. He's not going to take that chance. And we probably should never go back, they say. But I think the general problem over the last 8 years or so is that Aston Villa as a club have lost so many good players that us as fans, we romanticise about these players coming back. We seem to be the only team that gets talked about. Every ex-player that might be up for a move, they get linked with coming back. And I think the fans are part of the thing. I mean, I do it. I dream of the day Christian Benteke comes back. I don't think it's going to happen, but I dream of it happening. I think all fans do because we've not had many good players recently and we've lost a lot of good ones. So we do romanticise the fact of them coming back to Villa Park and being the saviour.
I'd accept him quite happily as well because our midfield is that dire straight that he'd change it totally. But I think we can totally rule it out. I don't think it'd ever be possible for so many reasons. But another player that has been linked with a move back to Villa Park is Stuart Downing, another guy that left under a cloud of red mist, so to speak. And Greg Evans from the Birmingham Mail is suggesting the Villa could be open to bringing him back on a loan deal. And apparently he's been told he can leave Middlesbrough, Dan. So would you take him back?
Again, I didn't like the way he left, but we're short in that area. We don't have a genuine left-footed left winger, and he's a player that would improve us. But again, I don't see him coming back. I mean, he dropped down to the Championship last season or the season before to play for Middlesbrough, but they were his boyhood team. I mean, the guy's shown he's got no loyalty or affiliation to Aston Villa Football Club. And again, I think he'd probably get a Prem move, maybe go and work with Sam Allardyce again at Crystal Palace. So I don't see it happening. But again, we've been so devoid of good players. I'd take it because he would improve us and solve a problem area.
Well, he can obviously play at left back, which could be an important factor if Ali Sissoko does happen to leave.
I don't think I'd like to see him at left back.
He has played there last season and this season.
No, I don't. He may have done, but I wouldn't like to see him there.
Oh, no, I probably wouldn't, to be fair. But 1 assist and 1 goal. No, sorry, 1 goal and 2 assists so far this season. 11 starts. So he's clearly still got Premier League ability to be able to do that. So I don't know. I'm unsure on him myself because I don't know. It's a tough one. But to me, if we're going at the left wing, then I'd rather see a loan deal come in for somewhere else than a left winger.
One thing I would say about Downey, I think he's a Bruce type of signing. I think he fits the bill of someone who's been a good Premier League player coming towards the end of their career. I think that's previously the kind of player that Bruce would bring in. So I think he fits the bill Bruce-wise, but I still don't see that he'd play in the Championship for Aston Villa.
One of the players that was rumoured last week, we're not going to touch him too much as we did touch on him last week, was Jordan Rhodes. The only sort of advancement on that has been that a source close to Rhodes' dad has said that he's frustrated at Borough, and Borough want to earn £10 million. We've established quite easily that Bruce doesn't seem interested in Rhodes, and on top of that, it's a lot of money for a guy that we've already spent so much on our strike force.
I was a bit against it at first, but now I've thought about it. I think he's the kind of player that we need. He's an upgrade on Gusted because he's good in the air, but he's 100 times better with his feet than Gusted is. He's obviously not getting football at Middlesbrough, and you think now with Gusted arriving there as well, that puts him even further down the pecking order. The guy scored goals in the Championship, and if you get the right players around him, he'd score goals for Aston Villa. But I think you can say that about a few players that are already at Villa. If we get the right balance, they'll score goals, and they haven't been scoring at the moment, players such as McCormack. So It's a difficult one to lump £10 million on a forward again, but I do think we're short in that area at the moment.
The other rumours that we're not going to really touch on too much because we see them as dead links is Jeffrey Schlupp. Leicester want £12 million for their left winger. He's a bench player for them as well, and currently won African Cup of Nations, I believe, if I'm not wrong. And he's been linked with the likes of Crystal Palace and West Brom, so I can't see that one being personal when there's that much Premier League interest in him. And then the other one is James McCarthy. To me, it's a dead link as well, just because of the fact that he could probably get a Premier League move. It's only been mentioned once or so, about a week ago now, actually, about a loan move for him. But to me, I can't see that one either. When the other rumour that is advancing, from according to Graham Bailey tonight, is Henry Lansbury is in advanced talks, and it could be soon that Henry Lansbury is an Aston Villa player. So I can't see the James McCarthy thing being anything but a rumour as well.
He's not the type of midfielder that we need, James McCarthy. If you were looking to long-term replace Jedinak, I'd say McCarthy is the kind of player that we'd need, but we need a more dynamic midfielder that's going to create and score goals, and McCarthy's never done that in his career. He's more of a defensive player in my eyes, so he'd be too expensive, and he wouldn't drop down to the Championship anyway, so that's a dead link, as you say. Same with Schlupp. He's quick, he fits the bill in terms of position, but Leicester are laughing if they think they're going to get £12 million for him, because I can't see he's worth that. He doesn't even get on the bench for them a lot of the times, and I don't think he's that highly rated within Leicester. I think just because they won the league, players' value seem to shoot up, but I wouldn't be happy with that signing. No,
not at all. It's all been a bit quiet today in terms of outgoings as such, but there's been a few that we've picked up on throughout the week. Starting off with the one we've touched on in the incomings is Ali Sissoko. It seems most likely that he could be off to Olympiacos, according to the Greek source SDNA. Apparently he's in advanced negotiations about a move there. What do you make of this one?
If he, the only way I can see him going, or the only way we should let him go, is if we've got someone like Brady coming in who can cover left back. If we let Sissoko go, we are very short at left back. I can't even think who the under-23s left back is. Sissoko's a more than adequate backup, but if we were to get someone like Brady in, then I think I'd be for selling him.
One of the rumours that has materialised and have gone away again is Pierluigi Golini to Inter Milan, Juventus and Genoa, who have also been mentioned. He was on the bench for the Spurs game, though, so does this suggest, is there anything in that, or do you reckon that there was talk of it, but then Bruce has decided that perhaps Golini is a better option than he first thought?
I'd be surprised if Golini was here at the end of January, and everyone knows, I'm not going to bore people with my thoughts on Golini, because everyone knows I think he's a good keeper, and I think he'll turn into a very, very good goalkeeper, but it won't be with Aston Villa now. By the looks of things, I think the writing's on the wall, which is disappointing.
It is unfortunate, and like we touched on last week when we touched on Golini, is the fact that if Inter Milan are coming calling, where would you rather sit on the bench, Inter Milan or Villa Park? You know what I mean? It's
I know where I'd rather sit on the bench, but I think Golini would probably prefer to sit into. Yeah,
definitely. And the next player that has been linked to the move away is, to me, our best utility player. Shoot me down for that statement, but Leandro Bacuna has been linked to move to China and Portugal in the past week, and to me, he's our best utility player as well. I can't see that happening because he's so versatile for us, and he's been in the team every week recently.
I won't shoot you down. I mean, perhaps I was, not perhaps. I was Definitely. Very, very harsh on him last season, but his comments came at a terrible time when everyone was down in the dumps, and it was the worst thing he could have said at that time. And I think he paid the price for that, and I think he's done his time. last season, but the way he's bounced back this season, he's really impressed me. I think every time he's been on the pitch, he's been an influence and he's been a good player for us. So I think he deserves immense credit for the way he's turned things around and the way he's got the fans back on side. Because if Lescott had been here still, he wouldn't have managed to turn the fans around. And Bakuna was put in the same camp as him last season by many, including me, rightly or wrongly. But he deserves immense credit for what he's done this season. I think he's been very good and possibly in our top 5-6 players so far this season. So if he goes, I'd be very disappointed because I think he's doing a good job for us wherever he plays. And long term, I think at right back at the moment, he's our best option.
I can't see it happening whatsoever. No. I just can't, because he's so versatile for us. And China or the Championship, where you potentially might get your Champions League move eventually. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, isn't it?
This China thing's ludicrous.
It is. It's stupid. They're linking every player. And on that note, Jordan Ayew's been linked today, still, again with China. And to me, I can see this being quite viable.
I don't know whether I agree with you there, because surely if Jordan Ayew was chasing money, he would have kicked up a fuss in the summer when his stock was higher than it is now, because he would have got a good move in the summer for me, because obviously he was our best player last season, head and shoulders above anyone else. So if he was chasing the money, as I've seen suggested, he surely would have kicked up a stink.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In the summer. I can't say. I hope we don't lose him, because I know he hasn't done it in the Championship so far this season, really, except for the first few months. He's arguably our most talented player on his day. We just need to find a way of getting the best out of him and putting him in his best position on the pitch. I'm not sure where that is at the moment. That's up to Bruce to discover that. But we need to get him firing, because he should be too good for the Championship, and I hope he doesn't leave.
I don't think he will. I think he's viable, but I don't think he will, just because of the fact he's at African Cup of Nations as well. And we did actually discuss Jordan Ayew in our striker options video that was released the other day. You can go and check that out, where we decide what is our best formula up front, including Jordan Ayew, Jonathan Codger and Ross McCormack.
I'm not sure we decided it.
No.
We tried.
So that is all for today's video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you're dropping us a like below. Let's try and hit 200 likes on this video. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the video with those post notifications on. By putting the post notifications on, it means you see our content first before anyone else does.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.